might not have known, maybe. No.
It didn't sound like anybody else was quite
Hold on,
there
everybody.
yet.
Hold on,
Uh-oh.
everybody. I know this is a last minute, but since MLK Day is tomorrow, which is
Tomorrow.
not,
Hmm.
just wanted to share. I found that a poll done in 1968 after his death, 31% of Americans said that he had brought it upon himself.
His
Yep.
death, yes, that is absolutely true. And people treat
He,
Dr.
yep.
King like he didn't mean not one thing, and you want to talk something that irritates me. Oh goodness. We can't just talk about Dr. King. He's Black History. What are you talking about? Yes, I can. Watch me.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and
You have a
this
son.
is this is why it's super important for people to understand different perspectives. Um, whoever has the power to influence, getting the information out, which in this particular case is going to be your traditional white groups, your European groups, or it's going to be like your Jewish community. They control the outlets that tell the stories. We don't.
Yep.
Not historically, we haven't. So the narrative that has been sold to us through elementary school for the last 60 years, that wasn't orchestrated by us. That
Nope.
was, they took Dr. King's story and through their interpretation sold it back to us. So they cleaned it up, scrubbed it up, made it so that it's all about, you always hear this one. Well, why can't we get to what Dr. King said and focus on the content of our character and not the cult, right? They always go there because that's convenient.
That's convenient. I'm like, why don't you
Right.
listen to his speech that he gave about the Vietnam War and his opposition to? Why don't you listen to that? Why don't you
Or listen to the whole I have a dream speech, right? Or
Yeah.
go to the letters from Birmingham jail. Like, there's so much to him, but when you control the narrative, you craft it so that it doesn't paint you in too bad of a light. So it always comes back to showing the white savior. It always does. That's one of the reasons I never really got into Roots. And that's one of the reasons why I got so upset with the Black Panther movie. Even though it was a great entertainment movie, it still was reinforcing the white savior motif. Like all this stuff going on, all this black excellence everybody was so proud of, at the end of the movie, if it wasn't for that white guy who just randomly was part of the story, none of this quite would have worked out. So you still had to have a white hero at the end. And that's cool. It's great. Like this, it's a great movie. But that part of the story just kind of, just stands out for me, right? So you look at Martin Luther King, they changed his story, watered it down so much, took all the revolutionary aspects of this great man and turned him into a conciliatory assimilationist, right? They took Malcolm X, all the complexity of Malcolm X, and they drilled it down to he was about violence, even though he himself and the Nation of Islam were never shown to have advocated or committed violence outside of the Nation of Islam. Didn't happen. And yet he's been repackaged for us as being the revolutionary problem, right? Marcus Garvey. Most people don't even know who he is.
Yeah,
that's how much he's been removed from the record. Right? So there's so much that goes on, but when you don't control your story,
that's why
Rosa Parks, she was just some lady who didn't want to move. Right?
No,
like
she retired so she had to sit and she
and literally and what did I
Muhammad Ali
last year? She wasn't the first.
Right. It was an orchestrated campaign.
It was orchestrated. We know that. And
right.
hopefully more people will know that, but
some of us know that. But even within our own community, many of us don't know it because we're all learning it from the same places. Like that's one thing I do say when I'm like kind of balancing out some of the communication here. Up until age 25, I give a lot of freedom and a lot of room for error for people who know or don't know, regardless of what your background is, because I know what you learned in school. I went to white schools my whole educational career. I know what you learned because they taught me what they taught you. So I understand that you don't know. I get it. And then I understand that you don't know more Because what was the impetus for you to go and learn more? I wouldn't learn more because it disturbed my spirit. Because what you were telling me in school didn't line up with my lived experience, didn't line up with what I saw with the people around me, didn't line up with why my community is the way it is. So it created dissonance. So I went and learned some things. But if you come from the outside community, you're not getting dissonance. What you're getting is things were bad, but they're better. That's what you get. There's no dissonance there. You just think things were bad, did some bad things in the past, not doing those same bad things now. See, we're better. And then the dissonance that kicks in for you is when these groups who have it better now are still complaining. That's when the dissonance kicks in for you, and you end up going to war with that. So you're angry with that. How dare you not love this country that's giving you so much? Yes, the country didn't do your people right, but you yourself is done well, right? So you're battling with that. So it's like you have to understand the people who are in the game, understand where they're coming from, so that you can then be able to identify relatively quickly who's coming to you in good faith. Who's coming to you saying, I want to learn more about your experience, versus tell me about your experience so I can tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah. So yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's why
that's the deal. With I'm just giving you a fair warning about next month, 2 weeks from now.
I still think we do a disservice. Well, no, never mind. Keep going.
No,
I'm just giving you a fair warning. What's going to happen in 2 weeks?
I think we do a disservice when we leave Dr. King out of Black History Month.
Oh, I'm not.
No, not we, the four of us. I mean, we, because everybody's like, we always talk about Dr. King. Why not?
Because this is
he's on the church fan. I don't understand this whole thing. Oh, Anna. Okay, so in the Black church, there's this fan, and it's RFK, which should really be replaced by Obama, but it's John F. Kennedy Jr.
Yep.
White Jesus, Dr. King, and somebody else.
Those are the main ones, ain't it?
Yeah. And
I thought it was just 3.
I thought it was 4. Wait a minute.
Those are the 3 that stand out to me.
Well, and
then on the back would be an advertising for a funeral home.
Yeah, on that back is the advertising for a funeral home. But so Dr. King is on that fan, right? So I'm just saying they don't got my. I respect Malcolm X, but he not on the church fan. Dr. King is the core of Black. To me, he's the core of Black history. Now I know there's Marcus Garvey, there's Fannie Lou Hamer, there's James Ellison.
More names you could ever name.
Yeah, more names than I could ever name. But I'm like,
first of all, Fannie Lou Hamer was not the core as when it comes to teaching in there. It was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream and everything else. You tell a black kid back in the 80s and 90s, Fannie Lou Hamer, and they'll look at you like, who? So
or Shirley Chisholm.
But that's because it's a breakdown. There's a breakdown in how we educate each other. And
it surprises me what we don't know. Martin has oversaturated the conference. No, that's America. That's these politicians that use the content of our character. That's the only thing I'm dreading about tomorrow. I'm like, oh gosh, some.
Oh, it's going to be all over. I'm not even going to watch the news tomorrow.
I think I'm just going to watch old Dr. King speeches and just watch.
The Radical Dr. King was a great book because it stitched together a lot of his letters.
And I'm going to go ahead and give you a sneak peek into it because I'm going to give you this background so we can go ahead and play this video. I mean, I don't even know why I'm rushing. I'm not waking up no time tomorrow early at all because I ain't going to work.
No, you're being fair.
I know. Let me go ahead and do it anyway. I will never forget the Facebook post after Trump lost the election. I will never forget it with somebody. I'm not going to say their name because I have no idea where he was coming from this. But in retrospect, he was saying stuff like, okay, now the election is over. Now we should come together as a nation. Now we should be together in peace, and we can. And I got so pissed off.
Like you just now wait.
Is this after the Trump one or after the Biden one?
Is it 2020?
Biden won and Trump lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was so pissed off because I really wanted to go. And
Now we need to come
second
together.
hour, basically, Anna. Now you want a fucking peace.
Yeah, didn't want
Are you serious with
was
what
this
you're
before
saying?
or after January 6th?
It was.
I think it was
January
before.
6th. It
Yeah.
was before January 6th. It was before January 6th. So let's go ahead and. Are you fucking serious with what you're just saying right now? That now you want peace and harmony in the nations.
If you understand the reasoning behind why they say these things.
Real quick. Let me say this real quick. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be shown next month. Not the I Have a Dream speech. And I'm still researching it because I'm really working on truly trying to find a video because I want the whole video show. Do not want to show the I Have a Dream speech. I want to show the speech where he said, I fear I have led my sheep to slaughter. That
I've integrated into a burning house.
That's the speech I want to show. And I'm sure it's somewhere because Google has given me the whole speech and y'all want me to read it. Good luck with that. But I know somebody with a better speaking.
It's not going to be that one guy from last Black History Month.
Oh, goodness.
Don't have him. If he's on it, I'm out. I'm just totally out. That one guy that was narrating.
The one who's talking about the Black Panthers. And it was horrible. Oh, my.
Oh, don't worry about that because apparently if I show his videos, he'll shut down my whole video. So
good, sir, because
worry about him no more.
Yeah, copyright.
Oh, he got action?
Yeah. You don't remember that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know they did that.
I remember that.
Yeah,
because we got
Mickey
turned
came on
down.
and said your video has been shut down. And as soon as I stopped playing his video, the video came back up.
Yep.
So don't worry about him no more. He don't want his video shown. Okay. I don't see how
might have been from the criticism.
But or his agency.
But no, but really, I agree with you. I'm glad that you are bringing that forward. Thank you, Anna, for raising it. To actually have a discussion about different things, as opposed to just this is my book report Easter speech type of thing. So really, I think this is important to get at some of the underlying messages and what is it that we can take away from things, and that really will help people like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, Kwame Ture. The list is endless. And one of the things I think is so valuable or important is that the movement is eternal. So we look back at the 60s because that was a flashpoint. But what we saw in the early 60s, that took 15 years to build up to that. And a lot of people died. A lot of people lost their livelihood. A lot of people suffered grievous injuries, emotional, physical, the whole nine. And we'll never know their names. We'll never know their story, and I think it's so important that we not just fixate on the individuals, which are really important individuals, but what was it that they were bringing forward? Because there's a clear line across history, and like you just dropped some names, right? You got from the slave revolt times of Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner, and then you come into the Haitian revolt with LaFontaine. I can't remember his name. Then you move forward. Like if you look at it, the fight for freedom is always happening.
Yeah.
And I was listening to an interview of a brother who was in the Black Liberation Army, and he was talking about how the story gets distorted because people simply don't know, right? And he's like, people think of slavery as though everybody was just taking this punishment. They don't know about the hundreds of slavery revolts over the life of slavery, right? They don't know about the times that slave ships, successful and unsuccessful, were tried to be taken over by the slaves fighting for their freedom. They don't know about the Deacons for Defense and the role that they played, which directly inspired the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. They don't understand the difference between the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. Like, there's so many stories because life is complicated and complex and it's running on multiple tracks at any time. And if you only are relying on the history that's handed to you, then what I would ask for you to do is look at who handed it to you. If someone is handing you a history and the author on that history or the publishers behind that history do not coincide with the subject matter of the history,
then why are you reading it?
You got to ask some questions, right? That doesn't mean you can't get good information out of it, right? But you need to ask some questions, and you need to ask yourself, why is it that I'm reading Mexican history, but I'm not hearing it from Mexican people?
Yep. And to think there's
Right?
people that want to whitewash the history.
Absolutely. Clean it up. Make it less.
No, make it less than it's already sanitized. They want to sanitize it even more.
They don't want to sanitize it, they want to erase it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they can sanitize it, they prefer to do that. Because this one thing I did, I don't remember where I heard this, some time ago, but it's more effective to change the history than it is to hide the history. Because see, if you hide the history, it still exists somewhere. So eventually someone will find it. But if you can change the history, if I can change what you think you know about Martin Luther King, if I can change what you think you know about Malcolm, I can change what you think about Muhammad Ali, I can change what you think about Bill Cosby, whatever you feel of him, I can change how you feel about anybody throughout history, then I don't need to hide the history. I've changed it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, all of a sudden, Martin Luther King is nothing but a guy who begged for peace.
Mm-hmm.
And don't we all love that type of Negro? And then you end up having a distortion. So now you think every time a Black person raises their voice that they're not acting in the spirit of Martin Luther King.
Right.
Funny
who
thing
said this?
Something like that. Because if you was to dig a little deeper, white people, I'm questioning you. This is a man who's just want peace in our country. What seems to be the problem? I'm not going to argue with you, but I will just turn the question on to you. What was the problem? If that's all.
Why was the reaction such that it was?
Yeah.
That's
what he was asking, and he still wasn't receiving it.
And he was the one they killed.
And he was the one that got killed.
Yeah.
Don't question us that we not acting in good faith of Dr. Martin Luther King. We're acting into, well, if this is a man who I'm gonna use your
did it the right way
of everything that you're saying, that all he wanted was peace, and he still didn't get it. Stop questioning the Black community. Start looking at yourself as, if he's asking for it and not getting it, who wasn't getting it to him?
Well, here's another thing about it. Like, I'm sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this is it's already frustrated me, and it's not even Dr. King's day yet. Because it really gets on my nerves how we have let, and this is in all parties, third party, two-party system, whatever. We've just let them just take what Dr. King did. Because think about it, we weren't. Dr. King was not popular amongst black people.
No, he wasn't.
Among black people.
The majority, yeah.
The
right.
majority of black people. Parker just told us about a poll where 31% said he got what he deserved. What?
Well, those are white people. 68,
Right.
68%, like 67%.
Yeah,
But the thing about it though is like, how you look at it. It's like, I don't even know how to really explain this very well. But Marlon, I'm sure you've had some version of this experience. Nearly every black parent has gone through this. Having to explain or try to find the words to help an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, somewhere in that age bracket, help them understand, why do they hate us? What have we done? That is one of the most painful things that nearly every black parent has had to do at some point and had to have done for them. And you're talking to a child. So you're trying your best to comfort this child and explain to them why they're treated differently simply for existing, while not scaring them, while also teaching them, while protecting them. It's an impossible task.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do we hear from all of these school board things and all this rigmarole going on is, you're hurting the children and you're scaring the children. Wait a minute here. We have always had to have these discussions and many others with our children at the age of 6 to 12. And you're telling me that a child who benefits from the fruits of that era is too sensitive to hear about it and learn about it, but it's okay because you don't have a remedy for the children who are the inheritance of the opposite side. See, the opposite of privilege is not okay. The opposite of privilege is to be without.
Mm-hmm.
So you inherited the wealth, we inherited the poverty. You inherited the freedom, we inherited conditions. You have always fought for your rights. We had to, no, correction. You have had to fight for your privileges. We had to first fight for our humanity, then fight for our rights. Then we ain't even got the privileges yet. So that's one reason this time of year really grinds my gears, and why I don't usually talk that much to members of the white community, well-meaning or not, because it's like ripping the Band-Aid off each year. There is a speech on, well, I'll probably get flagged if I say the name of it, but it's a James Baldwin speech, and it's Baldwin's N-word. It's on YouTube. And in that speech, he hits, the way he summarizes what it is to be a black parent. And in short, in a way of saying it, it is to have been fortunate enough to navigate the American system, especially as a black man, because I can't speak as a black woman, even though our paths in this life are very close together, and I wish we would understand that more, right? Nobody got it good. Nobody got it good. And we need to respect that and put our arms around each other instead of this finger pointing that we do. But that's a different discussion. But to have navigated this world to the point that you are, you're 30, 35 years old. You got nieces, nephews, or you have your own children. And to know for a fact that the reason that you have whatever you may not have much, but whatever you may have, the life that you are able to continue to live, you know for a fact that it was not because of you. You know for a fact that there have been countless people that you have known or known of who are not here today, or are locked away, or have lost their mind trying to navigate this world. So you know there's no blueprint that you can hand to your child or your niece or your nephew to say, this is how you get through this. This is how you get to where I am. Here's your guarantee or blueprint to get past me. You know that doesn't exist. And yet you still have to sell that to your child as though it does.
Yeah.
And you know that child will now have to be as lucky as you were to just get to where you are. And there's nothing you can do to help them. You can't protect them when they walk out that door. You can't be sure that your son is coming back every fucking day. You can't be sure that somebody ain't gonna try to put their hands on your daughter. You don't know what they're gonna have to run into. Well, you do know the different things that are out there, but you're powerless to do much about it. Because if you react, they'll lock you away too, and now who's there to look after your child? I can't explain that. I can't help you understand that for us. So don't fucking ask me to explain my experience to you every fucking year. It's just too much. It's too much. Go to the ones who want to do that shit. Because me personally, if you're not already on that tip where I can work with you, I'm ready to fight you. I'm ready to go in the trenches with you. I believe in that shit. I believe in the one that tells you that the person who's willing to kill you ain't ready to die. Well, if you're going to try to take mine, please believe my mama ain't the only one in a black dress. So understand the anger that you touch on. Understand the weakness that you expose. So now I ain't got a lot of patience for it, man. And there's probably going to be times I tap out of the conversation. But it's just, man, it's wild. And here we are going through a reverberation where well-meaning white folks will say some shit like, it's bad, but we'll get through it together. The fuck you talking about? We're going to get through it together. Shit pop off, you get to hide.
Yeah, you sure do get to hide.
All you got to do is shut the hell up and hope it goes past you. Because they don't know. But if they look at me, they know who I am. Look at what happened with the old dude who's a Trump supporter. You got Trump supporters who can't even go to Trump rallies. You got black Trump supporters who can't go to Trump rallies because their uniform, their skin makes them an outsider for a cause that they actually agree with. So when stuff pops off, man, that's all you're hearing is if you really pay attention to some of the stuff going on, they all talking about this shit hits the fan and all that stuff. They really serious about this, y'all. And it's a small group, but it's a small group willing to do a lot of damage. So when you hear your black counterparts and friends saying stuff like, yeah, I'm thinking about moving here or moving there, and what they're naming is out of the country, they're not playing. They may not be able to get out of the country, but they're expressing to you the fear that pervades every moment of our lives. And you can't relate to that. You just can't. I appreciate that you care, and that's super important, and I'm not downplaying that. But you can't relate to that because at the end of the day, you don't have to go through it. You don't have to.
All right, let me say two things real quick so we can move on to the last video tonight. I know you all probably wanted to end the show off like 45 minutes ago, but I appreciate this extended conversation. When I tell you that February is going to blow the fuck up, I'm not joking. I don't know how many views we gonna get. I honestly don't know. I just really don't. But best believe when I tell you that I have been researching this all month long, I'm not pulling out the little bullshit little things that we've all read in the little books where we were sitting at the little desk that was connected to your chair. We're going to get us to some deep stuff. So just be prepared for that. Number 2, I hate this whole fucking group of people that's on the panel right now because we had some good shit at the beginning and some good shit in the end, and I have to go in the middle and try to edit out the butt shit that we brought up once again.
You ain't got to edit that out, man. That'd be a whole segment right there, man, because it's important.
You could call it. You could even call
I am
it.
not going
Look,
to
Marlon,
do that.
here's what you call it. I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Or wait,
Doing the butt.
but there's more.